the scene. He's got the voice that's mean, asking those questions that you never seen. He's got that fire, burning bright and clean. Andrew Keen making waves, break the routine on the Keen on show. He brings the heat, asking the minds, digging deep till they bleed. No sugar-coated truths, no lies to deceive. Andrew Keen, the master of the interview beat. He's got the knowledge, he's got the flair, challenging ideas with a fearless stare. With every question, he's uncovering what's there. Andrew Keen, a truth seeker, he's aware.
Everybody, we're going to do things a little differently today. We often have writers on the show, and we do indeed have one today, Charles Bock. He's a well-known New York-based author. Some of you will be familiar with his first novel, Beautiful Children, came out in 2008, won lots of awards. And then his follow-up novel, Alice and Oliver, came out 8 years later in 2016. Charles Bock has a new book out. It's called I Will Do Better. It's not a novel. It's a memoir about his daughter and the tragic loss of his daughter's mother, his first wife. But the way we're doing things differently today is that along with Charles Bock, we have Lily Bock, his daughter, on the show. And let's start with Lily. How does it feel, Lily? You're a 15-year-old girl. How does it feel to be the subject of one of your father's books?
It's very back and forth. I think part of it is really great. I'm very honored to be like written about and having like 200 pages or whatever about me. But also, it's a little weird, you know. It's like anyone can look up and read my story, and that's a little odd, I guess. Yeah.
Did he ask your permission before he wrote this thing? I Will Do Better.
No.
I
knew it was happening, but we were in a global pandemic. I was like, okay, my dad's writing a book.
Charles,
he's writing another book. And then as it got more, he got more into it, I kind of realized it was more.
Well, the book takes place that it concerns our lives together when Lily is 3 and 4 in the 2 years immediately following her mother's passing. I started writing it when she was 9, 10. And throughout, I would talk to her about it. I would ask her memories of things, or we would go back and forth on different matters, bring up pictures. So she was involved with it, and I don't feel that I was in the moment, like taking her inner thoughts. I was dealing with a earlier version of who we were. And in fact, even the last draft, the epilogue to the book, takes place when she's, like, I think 12. So even that has certain distance from 13 from who you are now. And I do feel like I am not mining the inner life of my teenager without her permission. I'm looking back on who we were in this chaotic, transformative, and very important time for me and for her, and how we meet it, how we got through it.
So Lily, you've read the book, of course. How would you explain it? How would you put it in your own words? It's your father's book, but it's in part about you. How would you describe the book?
I think I'm going to go in little parts. I think there's a few different segments of the book, and they all have different parts of it that tie into one like core like story. But I think the first part of the book is a lot about my mom, and it's about like, okay, my wife just died, like getting past that part, and then it turns into moving on and like wanting to be him wanting to be his own person and being like trapped and feeling whatever and going through his own thoughts. And then it turns into like the acceptance part of the book. And I think it's a book about a lot of dads' thought processes before and during and being a parent in the first years of being a parent. but with a very weird exception to the story, which is that there's only one parent.
Also, I would add, first of all, I think that was a very good description. Meanwhile, there's also the adventures that the two of us go on and our interactions and the growth of the life of a 3-year-old who is blameless and totally kind of dependent on me and is growing up and also learning about life and has to do so in a very, unconventional manner with a very unqualified person raising her.
Charles, you call yourself unqualified, and that's part of the narrative of the book. You present yourself as someone who perhaps wasn't ready to be a parent. I've got 2 kids, and I'm just as unqualified as you. Why do you use that word? I mean, no one can be qualified to be a parent. You can't take a course in it, can you?
No. Well, you probably could take a course in it.
Well, you can, but they're kind of useless. I remember taking courses before my first child, and it was a complete waste of time.
Let's be honest. For a first child is a massive change in your life. I think I call myself unqualified in the sense that I wasn't thrilled about the idea of fatherhood. I had spent my 20s and a good part of my 30s really wanting to chase whatever literary success meant. I wanted that kind of life. I was also very much in love with my wife, this beautiful girl's mother, and you had someone tell me very clearly, you can't tell someone you're spending your life with, who you love, that she can't have a baby. But I really was like, you know what, I'll do the Bjorn, baby Bjorn. On weekends, I'll use the plural, we're parenting. But Diana wants to be a mom, peace in the Middle East, go for it. And I'll check in. And then she got really sick.
So let's put it in the context of, in the narrative of the books. Beautiful Children came out in 2008. First novels are always a huge deal, won lots of awards. Lily, you were born in what, 2009?
8.
She was born in December of that year. In December.
So Charles, this was a big year for you, 2008. Lily and Beautiful Children.
It was a big year. The book came into the world. This beautiful young woman came into the world.
I was born the day Bernie Madoff got arrested.
Oh wow!
That was the time period for you.
Yeah.
I hope that there is no symbolic connection between Madoff's arrest and Lily's appearing in the world.
I like trivia. I like that fact.
So, Lily, your father's obviously a very brilliant writer and loves his books and his writing. Do you sometimes think of books as a kind of competition for his affection and attention?
No, I think if I expressed more interest in writing, I'm sure I would get a little more attention sometimes from him. But I don't really compete. I don't think I compete with his work because most of our life is him writing. A lot of our life is him writing, and there's a good balance. But like there's times of the day where we like hang out and do things, but there are also times where he's writing, and sometimes I'll come and I'll bother him. But if I'm like bothering him, I know at a certain point I have to shut the fuck up and like go away.
I would say this.
You trained her well, Charles, as the daughter of a writer.
You think so? You didn't have the cameras on 2 hours ago, my friend. Anyway, I kid because I love. I do think this. I have made a point in my life for this young woman to be my priority. I've written less. I made sure that I was going to pick her up a certain amount of days from school. Sometimes there would be after school programs, but there were always days of a week where it was time for her and me together. because it was me raising her, and because I have so much fear and so much insecurity about my own competence, my answer is to try and be present, to do
It
the
sounds like the
work.
way you're putting it, Charles, it's almost like a concession. Wouldn't that just, doesn't it just go without saying that you're left, or not left, but your wife dies, you're a single parent of a 3-year-old, that would be the priority?
It does go without saying. I think there's maybe a lot of parents. I don't know your situation. You have 2 kids, but there's a lot of parents out there who work, and then at X time, the sitter picks up the kid. The nanny takes care of things. That they're high powered, ambitious, smart, charismatic people, such as yourself, who maybe are taking care of that level of business. And when they come home, it's at a later time. It maybe for me, part of the book is getting over myself, is getting over my ambitions. And it is logical and it does make sense. Well, yes, this is now must happen. But I also had been through 2.5 years uh, of illness with her mom, trying to save her life. I was exhausted. Our finances were not particularly great. I was grieving, and the time that it takes to be a really good parent took me away from things that were more natural to me. That's just hard. To pretend it's not hard is to be dishonest. And I would not want to be that way. And it would not make for a good book, or it would not be being true to myself. Part of the book is about not just doing something as a duty, but learning to embrace and want to take it on, and then still finding out that I still suck at it. And I have to learn how to do it, even because it doesn't go away clap, clap, just because all of a sudden now I'm on board. You still have a 4-year-old who's complicated and charming, but also can be exhausting. How do you deal with all that? Who has her own issues? How do you deal with all that? I think that that's an interesting thing that most parents can relate to.
Yeah, I certainly can relate. I mean, I don't want to compare ourselves as parents, but I don't have a very high opinion of myself as a parent. I don't think my kids do either. But don't you think, I mean, there's nothing more annoying than a perfect parent.
That's absolutely true.
And don't you think
And so I am
most,
not annoying in any way.
right, you make me feel more comfortable. I mean, maybe Lily, do you think there are some parents who are more or less perfect than others? Are all parents just parents in their own ways?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think I observe from the outside in with some things. My best friend's family are very well adjusted. Their dad has had a kid who's like grown up in his 30s, and this is like his second kid, and so he's been through it before, and like all the way, like his kid is off and married and like all that stuff. And and I think I watch them and I'm just like, oh wow, like this is crazy sometimes, and I'm just in awe of how perfect their family seems. But also, like, I'm my best friend. I know she has issues. I just don't see her parents' issues, and I just see that their perfect side. So I think it's a balance. Like, there are some people where I do, I guess, put on a pedestal of like perfect parenting, but I don't think it's true. I'm sure that there's like issues in their family and in their life. I just don't see them.
Do you feel, maybe either of you can jump on this one, that there was any kind of stigma growing up as a single child of a woman who tragically died so young?
Yeah, I mean, I've been bullied for it, for
You were
sure.
bullied? In what sense?
Yeah, in middle school, I transferred schools in middle school, during the pandemic. But first in 6th grade, kids found out my mom died, and they would come up to me and go, "Your mom's dead," and they would start making fun of me, or they would take my
Oh my
phone and
God.
throw it, and all this stuff, and then they would walk away, and it kind of like left. It was very odd, and then I transferred, and now like kids at my school like maybe 5 kids in my school know my mom's dead. I don't really talk about it. It's not a big open thing. A few kids also have lost their parents, so I'll talk. They know about it, and we've kind of found each other. But it's not like I try to avoid it now because there is definitely a stigma, and
I think that
That's-
I think that sixth grade is hard for everyone. Those kids sound like little beasts, and I think middle school has that kind of Lord of the Flies aspect to it. Uh, I honestly believe and hope that in high school, even though all issues are certainly not solved when you're in high school, that there would be more heart among people. Like Lily has had some trepidation about the book coming out and what kids might say.
Understandably, I mean, I think anyone would.
Oh, I do. I
mean-
have my own issues, but I have to believe that her peers are now entering an age where they can recognize like that, where they could recognize and show more humanity.
I mean, there's certainly
It's not possible.
a distasteful, cruel. I mean, it's one thing to tease another child; it's another to cruelly tease them because one of their parents died.
That's what I guess. That's my yeah.
Yeah.
That seems out of balance.
What about the
We
broader,
also know,
Charles, the broader cultural context of? I know you live on 3rd Avenue and 17th Street in Manhattan, but you also spend
come
some
on
time.
down, anyone. Doors are always open. love
Yeah. You get a free dinner, free cups of tea,
That's right.
free therapy probably, but
Not for me.
you grew up, or part of this, the narrative took place in Brooklyn. What about the broader cultural context? Did you find that people were uncomfortable talking about what happened, Charles?
Well, the book takes place in on 22nd Street. We had an apartment there where I lived for a very long time. We moved to Brooklyn a little bit after, and after the book kind of took place.
And then the final chapters in Brooklyn,
Oh yeah,
the epilogue.
the epilogues in Brooklyn. You're right. Good eye. I think I was aware that the moms when I picked up that they knew, and sometimes I told them, because
Well, it's the kind of thing particularly women would know. I mean,
it's obvious, right? And there were moments I can remember at her kindergarten, and I didn't put this in the book because it was just too on the nose, where there was a kid who like one day said to her mommy, "Why doesn't Lily's mom ever pick her up?" And I actually made a choice because it seemed, like I said, it was too on the head of the problem to include.
I remember that.
So I was aware, of course. Some people were really kind to me, and I'll always have a huge heart and great thanks for that. There were also moms who I know looked at me askance, who wondered what my deal was. Who didn't want to have it happen to them. God forbid that they were left with their husband raising the kid alone. So, and in that way, just kind of stayed away from the cursed guy,
Yeah, well, it's always uncomfortable for people for people to deal. It's probably more uncomfortable for them than it was for you. Sorry, Lily, I interrupted you.
No, like I went to middle school with a girl whose mom, like, still was weirded out by the fact that I was being raised by just my dad. And I remember being like, we're in 8th grade, about to go to high school, and your mom is still freaked out from something from preschool that's an act.
Why would you be weirded out, though?
I don't know. Her kid was a jerk anyway, so.
Well, let me say this. I don't, even now, I have good friends who have told me, who are raising, are in a family unit, they have kids, and they've said, look, when my kids were young, my wife got sick and I was worried about if she didn't pull through, and I had a plan to leave if something terrible happened, I would leave the baby with my best friend and I would take off, my female best friend, and I was ready to take off because there's no way I could have done this. I've been out on hikes with parents where the dad wants to show us the path around his house and we all end up lost in the woods because you know what? He doesn't go on hikes with his kids naturally.
I thought you were going to say,
It's-
Charles, you went on hikes where someone gave you someone else's child.
Yeah, I said go. That would be been funnier. That was a better punchline. It's not natural. Men do not have the child and it doesn't gestate inside of us. When our wife is pregnant or when your significant other is pregnant, we watch. We can take the classes on delivery, but we are not fully integrated with the child being part of us. Daddy Von Trapp went and hired Julie Andrews. Daddy Cinderella went and got a a wife to be the stepmom. So there's a long history of pawning it off and getting help and going and doing your work. That's just true. Now, in our 21st century, a lot of men are way more involved as parents and as co-parents. But I would still bet, and I would think most would agree, moms do the heavy lifting. And moms usually want to do the heavy lifting. They may want their husband or partner to be more involved, but there's something to the mother-child relationship that is sacred. That with dads, it's a little different. It's not.
Lily was.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this is in some ways a very sad story. Although your father's a very funny writer, and he combines the comical and the heartbreaking very well. But
It's like The Princess Bride, only a memoir.
Right, and Oprah has already got a recommendation from Oprah, so it's bound to be a big seller. But Lily, was there some cool stuff about all this? I mean, obviously you missed your mother, although I'm sure you can't remember her. Did you get to spend, compared to your friends, more time with your father? You went on hikes, you went to sports games, he came to all your events, you had dinner with him every night?
I don't remember going. I remember one hike with my dad that he still holds against me. But
he didn't. At least he didn't give you away to one of his friends.
Yeah.
Not yet.
He's debated it.
No, come on.
But what do you mean by court? Can you like?
No, I meant cool. COOL. So it was just
cool
fun
stuff.
to spend. You know, you compared to your friends, who, as Charles, your dad says, do most of the heavy lifting, for better or worse, even in liberal families in the New York area. You just got to spend way more time with your father than your friends.
Yeah, I think I'm very much like my dad. I think I got like his comedy and stuff, and I think I'm a very funny person. And if my mom was still here, I would be a very different person.
But still funny.
I would still be funny in a different way. I think.
Yeah. Why?
I would be much less crude. I think I can be very deadpan. I can be very crude. I took my dad's comedy, and then I added like a kind of like darker, weird twist to it. That's like my own like mean thing. And I think it would be a lot. I don't know. I think I'm like kind of a replica of my dad in some ways.
A replica of your dad.
Yeah.
But
I think it just naturally happened. I've spent a lot of time.
But have
with
have you enjoyed? I mean, I'm sure you've had your rows with him, but have you generally enjoyed spending so much time with him?
You know,
kind of.
that the way the boat goes up and down on the waves on that.
I think it's.
Do you argue? The two of you argue a lot? Do you storm out?
Oh. Yeah. We just have a very different relationship than I think a lot of like parents and kids.
We also each night, you know,
we like watch TV together.
We watch TV and we also discuss things, and we are able to, I think, get pretty deep and honest with each other in a way that is very rewarding. and
Yeah.
also sometimes we do have conflicts. We do have
Mhm.
different points of view. Her point of view at 15 should be different than mine at 50, whatever. That's true. And hopefully we can move forward to, and have her move towards a great, healthy, amazing life. But it wouldn't be it wouldn't be normal or right if there wasn't some friction there.
Yeah, I think we're together so much that we've also built like a friendship
Yeah.
that I
Mm.
don't think a lot of parents and kids have. Like I even look at some family members and that like don't speak to their kids really at all, and I'm just like,
And we will not hear about that later because
Yeah.
they will, but whatever.
but like and we're just kind of like okay, and
Yeah.
we're like, and they like have a relationship, but they're not friends, or they're just like father daughter, and we're father daughter, but we're also.
Do you have, Charles, problems with if you don't strike me as a hardcore disciplinarian? If Lily does something really naughty, do you tell her off?
You know what?
That's
I try to have rules. I've tried to have rules for her and boundaries through her life. I'm not. I may not always be consistent, which maybe has, you're always told and on the blogs and in advice books or whatever it is that you want to set up these consistent rules. It's hard when you don't have anyone to tag off to, um, and to help out
Mhm.
because like the 8th and the 12th and the 15th time someone asks for something, it's hard to keep an even keel and to be just as fresh and as disciplined as you were during your first time dealing with that issue. Um, but so I guess I'm not like the greatest disciplinarian, but there's also things that we need to have happen so that we can have a successful, happy life together,
Mhm.
so the house can operate. And those are things that I do ask for.
Lily, my daughter always tells me that she knows exactly what buttons to press and how to manipulate me and how to get stuff out of me whenever she wants. You strike me as quite a confident young woman. Do you basically know how to manage Charles Bock?
I'm very. I think I don't really know what's gonna pop out of my dad here and there, so I think it's kind of hard. I don't think I'm like know what buttons to press to get what I want. I think maybe in the back of my mind I might, but I'm not aware of it. Like I don't like try to like
Well, if you know you want to go out with
manipulate.
friends or do an overnighter or buy this or go there, and he might
Oh,
be.
it's not that hard. Like my dad's pretty chill about that stuff. I don't really have to like. He's not very strict about that stuff. Like as long as he knows I'm safe, then I'm somewhere. Like I'm normally in the same like 4 places, honestly.
Charles, you wrote a piece recently for LitHub where this
Yeah.
show is distributed.
Oh,
It was actually a few years ago on conversation of when we lay ourselves
yeah,
bare. You have a tradition of writing very honestly about difficult subjects.
yeah.
Um, I mean, it seems like when a woman dies and leaves you a daughter, is there a danger of her staying alive and somehow her soul, her spirit being captured in the girl? And do you have to make an effort as a father to think of her separately from your dead wife?
Well, you know what? Are you Diana? You know what? Lily looks like her mom, and that's just true. And when I look at her, I do see that. She also, I have raised her. She has all kinds of mannerisms where I look at her and I see myself. Um, I wish, I wish up and down that there was a ghost spirit that was guiding us and helping us.
I think there is.
You think there is. I myself um, feel like it should take some steroids and step up and do more for us. But I also very much believe that her mother's love manifests itself through the kindness that I can show her, through her godmother coming every Sunday. And
Okay, Buster?
the dog just knocked down a little sign over here.
That may have been her spirit, yeah?
Yeah, well,
Buster.
our dog. Our dog would be more brave if it had her spirit.
Our dog
He's
is-
a little chicken. Her godmother who comes over every Sunday or every other Sunday for the span of Lily's life and spends time with her. Her grandma who checks in with her and is always available to her. That love manifests itself through the care we show to each other, through the kindness we give each other. In that sense, I do believe that her mother's spirit is alive because people have opened themselves to her, and because I try to show her her mother's love on a regular basis. That is something that I kind of figure out in the course of the book, and it plays out, in the pages.
Lily, if you believe maybe your mother's spirit is still around, what do you think she would think of your father's achievement?
Of this book?
Well, more of you. The book is the book, but life is life.
And what a great book it is that should be part of all your listeners' lives.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
Shameless.
I Will Do Better
No
by
shame to
Charles
this
Bock.
game, my
But
friend.
I think Lily, we got the real Lily here rather than the version of the book. And we
Yeah.
got the real Charles Bock. What do you think? Do you think your mum would be proud of Charles?
Yes and no. I think in some ways,
No?
yeah. I think yes mostly, but I think everyone would be like, I think anyone would have issues with some things. Like,
What's the
I
worst
think,
thing he did?
it has to do with the woman we're not allowed to talk about. It would
Wow.
we'll be marrying her, so let's not put that in there.
Yeah, well, there's a
I think
third,
yes. Let's
a
change the
fourth
answer to
person
yes.
perhaps in this, but just leaving her aside.
Other than that, yes.
That's
I
pretty
mean,
good.
Charles, the title of the book is, I know you're a very honest writer, but I Will Do Better. I'm not sure that's really true. I mean, could you have done better? I mean, if you're doing the whole thing again, leaving aside maybe the second marriage, could you have done better? Do you have deep regrets about your parenting achievements?
Well, I think the thing is, and the way it becomes a title is, this is something I promised myself constantly after I felt I came up short. And now, having raised a child with a second child, there are things that I don't view as seriously, where maybe with Lily, I reacted, I went a little nuts. But I always promised myself I will do better. And I think it's something that every parent says to themselves after moments where quite naturally things don't turn out the way you'd like. Whether on the grand scale I've done well or I could do better. I think the title really does refer to a moment to moment mindset or battle inside myself between being afraid that I could not do this and my efforts, and then whatever happened as a result. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm watching you, you seem an ideal father-daughter. And thinking about it, Lily, makes me a little sad that in 3 years you're going to go off to college and leave your poor old dad on his own. You're going to take him with you?
No. Not coming. I'm gone. I'm
You're
leaving,
gone?
gone. I'm going to London. I'll come back and visit for 3 months during the summer break, and then I'm back to London, and I'm going to live in London.
What are you going to do in London?
I'm going to do theater.
You're not going to miss him? You've spent so much time with the guy.
She'll miss me.
I'll miss
I'm
him.
so cuddly.
I'll come visit.
I'm such a good dad.
But
I'm such a loving.
I'm ready to live my life.
And how are you going to cope, Charles? It's only
Oh.
3 more years, and then you'll
He
be.
has it. Honestly, a year and a half.
He what?
I'm a junior.
She's a junior in high
So
school.
2 more years.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll probably, drown my sorrows with copious amounts of high-end prostitutes.
Oh my
That I
God!
think-
Joking.
Do you have the money
you
for
know
that?
what? I have no idea. I really.
He has my sister.
He what?
He has another kid.
Well, but
He can focus on her.
that'll be a couple nights a week. But the truth
We'll
is,
get her an extra in a week.
the truth is, her presence in this apartment is a huge part of my life. When she stays over at a friend's house, I'm aware of just how much space she occupies in my head, in my heart, and in the apartment. I don't know what the next phase of life will be for me. I imagine maybe I'll be more productive, but I don't really know. I hope and believe that I'll always be involved wherever she is with her life, because I care, and I believe she cares about me, and she might. And I, in a glib answer, great, it's funny and she's entertaining and beautiful. But I hope I'll get to go over to London and
Yeah, for
bug
sure.
her there, and we'll see what life, man plans, God laughs. I know that all too well. So whatever I think it's going to be, it ain't. I know that. I believe that.
Man plans, God laughs. But in a way, Charles, you've done what every parent wants. You've eternalized your child in this book. I mean, whether or not it'll become, an award-winning book is really not the issue. You've captured her in this book as a writer. So even in itself, that's quite an achievement, isn't it?
That was something that yes, and I'm really, thank you for saying that, and I'm very proud of it. I'm going through photos, going through emails and schedules and figuring out and reconstructing our lives together. One of the great joys of it was being able to reach out and stay in conversation and recreate the beautiful, beautiful girl that Lily was at 3 and 4. She's a wonderful, amazing child as a teenager, but as you know, when you're a parent, you don't get to go back. You don't get to go back that way. They only move forward. And this was a chance to capture this really important time in my life, really tenuous time in her life, and to write a love letter to it and to us. And maybe I do wish that I had done things better or could have handled things better. But I also am so thrilled to be able to have been able to put her on the page, and to be able to put our relationship and this time on the page. I do, it's 200 pages, and I did work really hard to make it be something that could be digested like potato chips and read in 1 or 2 sittings. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, it already got a star on Kirkus, so it's already been very well reviewed. Lily, what do you think about your dad getting? I mean, he's talked about watching you grow up. Your father has obviously done a lot of growing up, especially after you were born. But what do you feel about your dad getting old and perhaps more dependent on you? Could you imagine a time where you look after him as he's looked after you?
Yeah.
Soon she'll be changing my diapers.
I'll argue with your brother and hire someone.
Yeah, right.
For people just listening, I think Lily's look at Charles was worth 1,000,000 words.
Yeah, because that won't happen. But I'm doing fine. I'm only.
Charles, let Lily talk about what's it going to be like to see this remarkable man who brought you up, sacrificed so much. What's it going to be like for him to get a bit older, maybe a bit more dependent on you?
I'm afraid of that because I don't know. I think my dad takes a lot of good care of himself. He works out regularly. He eats very healthy. I think that like just like seeing like even like my grandma and like my grandparents, it makes me sad. And I think on a much deeper level, it's gonna really like mess me up. Especially because like when I was so young, I saw my mom lose all her ability to live and function, and I just don't want to see that again. So I joke that I'm not going to deal with it, but I think that at a certain point in my life, like taking care of my dad will be a very big part of my life.
Yeah, finally, I mean, your mother, it's no secret, she died of leukemia. So she just had very bad luck. So final question for the two of you. What has this experience in this book taught you about luck? Charles, you said man plans, God laughs. Perhaps God, like those kids at Lily's school, have a rather cruel sense of humor. But what has this whole experience told you about luck and fate?
It doesn't give you good luck. We don't have the best. I don't know. I probably fucked up in my last life, to be honest, to get this bad karma.
You did?
Of my mom dying. Yeah.
Why would your karma affect your mom? Your mom would have her own.
Oh, okay.
There's something hugely cruel about that idea that something you would have done would have caused her to pass and be.
That's true.
It's just not.
But like, I don't know. I think that like, I believe in karma. I think that now it's just about like doing the best we can to make sure that life is good. Like I can't control who gets fatally sick, but it's just about taking care of whoever it is.
Charles, final word with you on luck and fate in life. What has all this experience taught you?
I don't think that there's any fate. I don't believe in that necessarily. I think we have to try and be decent with one another, and that's the chance at creating some luck. You could look at the United States presidential candidates, and you see one guy where the sun really does seem to have risen and fallen on his ass with no skills or decency on his part in any way, shape, or form. So obviously there are forms of luck in.
I don't know how you managed to get Trump into this one, Charles.
But the idea that that's somehow fate is asinine to me.
But in all seriousness, when it comes to someone like Trump, I'm no bigger fan of his than you, I'm sure. This guy seems to live forever, and
it's just like nothing can get to him, no matter what, and that makes you kind of believe that, like, wow. But there's no order to it. It's just there's no rational path to what has happened. It's just been whatever, so
I'm not sure if you're religious or not, Charles, but does that make you more or less skeptical of spirituality and traditional religion?
I couldn't be more skeptical. I could understand how prehistoric groups gathered together and looked at the stars and were like, ooh, but I think the idea of religion is
we are not very religious people.
There was a boat with every single.
We honor everyone's beliefs and everyone who has religion.
2 of every single animal on a boat for 500 years.
No one's gonna buy our book because of you.
Well, maybe on the next Noah Ark, the 2 of you will be on board. Charles and Lily Bock, you're not the co-authors, but in a kind of odd way you are. I will do better. Charles Bock's memoir of losing his wife tragically early and bringing his daughter Lily up. Real honor to have you both, especially Lily. You've done a great job. And I want to thank you so much for being, both of you, so open and vulnerable and interesting about this wonderful new book. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, John. It was a pleasure to be on. Thank you for having us.
It was awesome.
Can I step on the scene? I'm ready to attack. Andrew Keane, yeah, he's the one to bash. Asking questions, no filter, just keeps on grinning. He's the man who's got the whole crowd spinning. Money, fame, success. He's an expert.